governments to be more fair with their people, to be more just. If we totally turn our backs on corrupt regimes, and I'm including the one in Afghanistan here, which we're actually supporting at the moment, we will help build better countries overseas, and the kind of immigration, economic immigration we see, will start to reduce. But you know, it's actually going to get worse. The Sahara Desert is growing at 30 kilometres a year. Millions of people are on the move. We know that climate change is taking place. It doesn't matter about laws anymore. When people need to migrate because they need to drink and they need to eat, they will go where they need to go. The whole world is going to be on the move shortly, and we have no policies to take this into account. We are pretending it's not happening, and it is a huge elephant in the room.
Okay, Pip. On the subject of British jobs for British worker, how do you see this as? What are your views on this topic, subject like?
Okay, Pete. Well, a lot of people don't understand that the future is coming on pretty fast. We're past peak oil. They probably aren't even going to tell us when we're past peak gas. At the moment we're importing from Russia, and we know Russia is prone to turning off the taps when it feels like it. We haven't invested in the technologies of the future. We could be self-sustainable. This country produces 5 times more wind power than it ever would need to power our industries and our homes. The tidal power, even of the River Usk, here on our doorstep, a 36-foot rise and fall, the second highest rise and fall in a river in the world. Imagine the power that can be generated from that. The green way of thinking is to create jobs for the future, 1 million new jobs. Let's call them green-collar workers. Let's talk about industries such as engineering, technology, all the things that we're going to need for the future. Let's create these jobs. Green living is quite labour-intensive. Let's insulate our lofts. Let's block up all the holes in our windows. Let's actually look at dealing with life for the future, not for the past and not for the present. The Green would support 1 million new jobs. There would be plenty of jobs for everybody.
Okay, back to Newport. You know, we had a thing what we had, Meals on Wheels, which was helping the homeless and people who couldn't, you know, find meals on a daily basis. But I think the Newport City Council have cut back on the cost. What do you think about that?
You're right, Pete. I think you're talking about the Meals on Wheels service.
That's the one, Meals on Wheels service.
Yeah. This is for those folk who are unable to get themselves a hot meal. Now, you know, there's been a lot of talk about cutbacks, and we have to be careful what we're cutting back. We should be cutting back on a lot of administration, on red tape, and not on services. But Meals on Wheels is a really good example because it was delivered to 48 people in Newport. That's the whole of Newport. And it was delivered twice a week. And the cost of doing this was £100,000 a year. Now, I don't think my maths is faulty, but at 2 hot meals a week for 48 people, that comes to about £20 a meal. Now, I reckon you think the same as me, that the meals they were getting weren't worth £20. That's pretty much a banquet. No, it was mostly going on other expenses. So they've cut back on this, so 48 needy and vulnerable people aren't getting their hot meals. But there are lots of other ways of looking at this. There are always going to be needy and vulnerable people. The Green way of looking at this would be as part of the community strengthening exercises that we think are most important to have good, strong communities, because we believe in localisation, because we believe in helping each other. There are good people in every neighbourhood would love to be cooking meals and taking them round. Lovely, hot, nourishing meals to their neighbours who can't do it for themselves. There are are many people who would love to do this. And why not think imaginatively? Why not reimburse these good, kindly neighbours with vouchers? Let's call them Newport pounds. Let's say for people who are looking after the neighbours in this real, practical, needed way, get reimbursed with a voucher. Maybe it's worth a couple of Newport pounds, and these can be traded in as part of, say, council tax or some other council-generated product that people have to buy. So you win-win, don't you? The person who needs food gets food. The kindly neighbour gets to do something that they would really like to do. They get a form of reimbursement for it, which they can then use for council services. So we have a lovely situation where our vulnerable people are looked after. They have human contact and their hot meals. I think that what we need to do here in Newport and nationally is think differently. There are so many ways of doing what needs to be done which aren't necessarily about money.
Okay, how would you empower the youths of Newport if you was to be elected?
Well, the youth of Newport, the lovely people I meet here at Urban Circle, oh, they're such great kids, and they're absolutely really top stuff. But actually, I have to wind back a little bit and look at our education system. When we're talking about the youth, very often we think about the disaffected youth, the people who haven't fitted in, who are perhaps becoming disengaged before our very eyes. And we have to think about how we educate people. You know, we send people to school and they learn school. They don't necessarily get educated. They learn how to sit in a classroom, how to keep quiet and face the front, because that's rewarded. But really, to be educated, you have to know yourself. You have to understand yourself. You have to seek out the things that interest you. Very often these practical things. Because, you know, the skills we need for the future are going to be practical skills. I don't know that any kids coming out of school today can do the most important things. Cook, grow their own food, build their own houses, make their own clothes. The most important things for life aren't actually taught. Also, you know, there have been some studies showing that from the age of 7, the child starts developing one side of the brain preference to another, and our modern system is favouring right brain type of work, which is more logic and more analysis. It's not favouring the things that we need most: creative flair, imagination, practical hands-on skills. So really, when it comes to the youth, I think I'd have to look back and think, you know, it's no good playing the games as a distraction from your own creativity. There's so much more we should be doing for our young people. And one of the things we've got to do is ask them what they want.
Okay, thank you, Pipa. One more question. I'd like to say, would you set up any charitable organization for the youths, or, you know, just to give them something else to do, like?
Well, it's not just about charity. You know, I was talking about skills for the future. And other skills are going to be love and compassion, the ability to care for each other. These are really important skills. And when it comes to charities, we have to be very careful that we don't set up charities and reinvent the wheel. There are some brilliant charities around which are really well managed, who understand funding, who understand minimising their administration costs. So we don't want to be setting up too many new charities. We need to be supporting the ones that are there, the ones that we know are doing a very, very good job. I mean, I've been a lifelong member of Amnesty, for example, because I believe in freedom of speech, and because I believe that prisoners in conscience should not be held unnecessarily without trial. And so I've fought all my life for this. But, you know, other people have their own particular leanings in terms of supporting charities, and I think the charities, the wonderful charities we have out there, both locally and internationally, should be supported because they usually know best what needs to be done in given situations, because they've done the research and they've put in the